And so it begins, the build up to Destiny's biggest ever expansion, Forsaken, you pathetic human scum.
Sorry about that, I got a little bit carried away. Check out Game Informer's latest issue. It marks the start of a month-long in-depth look at
Forsaken.
And look whose ugly mug is plastered on the front.
Prince Emo,
who no doubt spends most of his days ripping bongs and writing existential poetry. He's the bastard who split Cade's wig with a point-blank bullet, a narrative bombshell designed to hit players right in the emotional gonads. And you know what? Bungie's calculated nutshot worked. You guys are mad. Anyway, I digress. Like I said, Game Informer will be drip feeding exclusive Forsaken coverage throughout the entire month of July.
We have so much new info to talk about, so let's effing well do this.
First up, the Tangled Show, a brand new destination that will finally allow players to explore the mysteries of the reef. Now, the Tangled Show isn't a planet or a moon, rather a collection of asteroids lashed together with grappling hooks and cables. It's like floating in the vast abyss of space.
And looming in the distance, the Awoken Watchtower, a deeply enigmatic structure that holds long-lost secrets.
Now, the Tangled Show is where the majority of the campaign plays out. It's a lawless land where the Fallen battle against their mutated scorned cousins, Hive lurk in crashed tomb ships, and the remnants of the Red Legion battle to simply stay alive. It ain't the safest place to be wandering about, and it's in the Tangled Show where you'll meet this guy,
Spider,
a Fallen mob boss who once ruled these parts before the arrival of Prince Aldrin forced him into hiding. Now, believe it or not, he's the vendor for this destination, and so you'll need to form an alliance with him and his Fallen forces. It's the only help you're gonna get. In fact, Spider's personal guards will join you on certain adventures. Let's see if they can cut it on the battlefield. And get this, once you complete the campaign, Spider asks for your help to clear out the outlaws who escaped the Prison of Elders. And I gotta say, this sounds kind of fun. These enemy targets will appear in random world locations, strikes, lost sectors, and even in the middle of Gambit matches. So, you know, keep your eyes peeled and your pistol strapped, mate. Now, there's also a new Tangled Show public event called the Cryo Cell Escape. Cryopods containing bosses from the Prison of Elders crash down around you. You'll need to take out the waves of enemies trying to defend these pods. Eventually, the pod cracks open and the boss emerges. And you know what to do, kill it. It's worth noting that these pods also emit occasional bursts of freezing cryo mist, which slows your movement, so you'll need to retreat to a safe distance when this happens. And the Tangled Show also has new lost sectors, one of which is a black market Fallen fighting ring, with cages of vicious war beasts, and get this, according to Game Informer, a chance to learn about the Fallen version of a dance club. Count me the F in. With forearms, I'm sure the Fallen can bust out some serious moves. But what about the actual campaign itself? Well, listen to this.
On the edge of the reef lies a wasteland called the Tangled Shore. My hidden agents tell me that's where Aldrin and his barons gather.
During the campaign, you'll need to hunt down and kill 8 barons. After all, these wretched bastards, along with Prince Aldrin, had a hand in killing Cade. You're after some good old-fashioned revenge, and this time, it's effing well personal. Each baron has their own story and boss encounter. Let's have a look at the kind of scum you're up against. First up, a little background lore. The barons were once lowly Fallen dregs. Cast out and shunned by their own kind, these Forsaken dregs had no one to depend on but each other. Through a combination of ruthlessness and teamwork, they thrived. They raided other Fallen encampments, murdering rival gangs of Fallen pirates and scavengers, stealing their ether and growing ever stronger. They pillaged and terrorized Awoken outposts, rendering the once flourishing Awoken homeland into a lawless frontier. After the Red War, Cade Six and an elite posse of his most trusted guardians assisted Petrovenge in cleaning up the reef from this dangerous band of barons. And during a legendary standoff, most of them were killed. However, 7 were captured alive and tossed into the deepest, darkest cells of the Prison of Elders. But an 8th baron remained at large. And here he is, the heretical warrior priest known as
the Fanatic.
His real name is
Thick Rule.
Now, the Fanatic is the leader of the barons, second only to Prince Aldrin. He views the Scorn as an evolution of the Fallen and the final manifestation of what they were always meant to be, eternal. Next up, we have
the Machinist.
Her real name is
Alycris.
She's second in command to the Fanatic and his most ardent follower. An expert in munitions and weapon crafting, she's an insatiable thief and hoarder with a terrifying arsenal. Basically, she's a weapons nerd that wants to kill you. Next up, we have
the Mindbender.
His real name is
Hyrax,
a mad genius who has been changed by his research into the Hive and their dark religion. He has somehow found a means of exercising control over Hive combatants. As a starving, runty little dreg, the mindbender fell into the moon's hellmouth. He's never spoken an intelligible word since, but his time in the Hive's domain changed him, gave him a lifelong obsession with these creatures and the ability to unravel the minds of his enemy. Next up, we have
the Trickster.
Her real name is
Araxes.
A silver-tongued manipulator and con artist, the Trickster uses cloaking tech to keep herself from being seen, and it's known for duping others into doing her dirty work. She is a coward with little to no skill in battle, but a master at setting deadly traps where her victims least expect them. Do not trust anything she touches. Next up, we have
the Hangman.
His real name is
Rexis Vorm.
A silent sadist with an obsession for torturing fallen servitors, the Hangman doesn't just kill his victims, he makes sure they suffer first. Reports paint this Baron as a depraved executioner. No one knows why the Hangman was abandoned at birth. Some say his parents looked in his eyes and just thought, no fam, you are wrong. So yeah, ladies, swipe left if you see him on Tinder. Complete nut job. Next up, we have
the Mad Bomber.
His real name is
Canix.
A crazy thrill seeker for whom self-preservation is an afterthought, the lunatic known as the Mad Bomber is willing to blow an entire location to smithereens just to kill his target. He now lives only to experience the adrenaline rush he gets from making things explode. A few too many near misses and concussive blasts have driven him quite insane. Next up, we have
the Rifleman.
His real name is Pyrrha. An all-seeing sniper who watches over the barons with his cybernetic eye, the Rifleman keeps his targets at a distance, plays real dirty and never misses. He's brilliant, cold, patient, and an expert at taking out ghosts with a single shot. Since the barons first ganged up, no one has ever managed to get the drop on them thanks to the Rifleman. Cross his threshold and you're as good as dead. No matter where you hide, his bullet will find you. Death can come at any second and from any direction. When facing the Rifleman, keep your eyes open, your head down, and your ghost close. This dude is effing lethal. And finally, we have
the Rider.
Her real name is
Yarvix.
She's a master mechanic who's engineered the fallen heavy pike to make it much better. The Rider's fiercely loyal gang of pike riders is made up from the remnants of old fallen houses, outlaws, and lone wolf nomads. She gave them a pike and a purpose, and in exchange, every member is prepared to ride or die for their fearless leader. She breathes nihilism and breeds anarchy. So yeah, there are 8 barons in total, and each one of these unique foes will feel like a strike boss encounter. You see, every baron has a unique fighting style that you'll need to counter to secure victory. Now, interestingly, the first 6 barons can be taken down in any order you like before the campaign returns to a linear structure for the last 2 barons and a final confrontation with Prince Uldren.
But that's not where the story ends. After completing the campaign, an even greater threat awaits. A strange voice calls to Uldren from the Awoken Watchtower, within which lies the greatest secrets of the Awoken people. Prepare yourself, Guardian, shit's about to get real.
Next up, new info on the Dreaming City, which is the long-hidden home of the Awoken. This is a fully explorable destination the size of Nessus, stuffed full of mysterious portals, hidden chests, and secret tunnels. And it's here where you'll also find the brand new raid. Now, you'll only be able to enter the Dreaming City once you complete the campaign. After you confront Uldren, you'll unlock a quest that grants you access to this mythic land. Now, this is Destiny's first endgame destination where only the most powerful Guardians will survive. The new power cap is 600, and you'll need all the power at your disposal in order to face down the threats you'll encounter here. You see, the Dreaming City has been infected by a taken curse that grows stronger over time. And get this, it's such a powerful curse that it literally changes the landscape. That's right, every week the Dreaming City will change as the taken curse slowly takes hold. New secrets and missions will unfold, enemy locations will change, their power levels will increase, and the environment will grow darker. And the location's vendor, Petrovenge, will also change locations in response to this growing threat. And at the end of this 3-week cycle of change, a secret awaits the most powerful Guardians. Bungie describes this secret as a deep, exotic quest that players will need to solve. When Bungie describes the Dreaming City as a shifting, dynamic game space, they ain't bullshitting. This entire destination has been designed with long-term replayability in mind, goals that will incentivize Guardians to keep returning. There are enough secrets and puzzles to keep players occupied well after the campaign ends. And looming in the center of the city on a mountaintop is a great castle called
Keep of Voices.
This is where the raid takes place and where you'll learn more about the narrative introduced in the campaign, or as Game Informer describes it, the greater threat behind the curtain. And yes, this new raid will see the addition of new raid layers over time. So what are some of the activities you'll be facing in the Dreaming City? Well, there's a new tower defense style public event called Rift Generator. You have to power up Awoken attack pillars in order to hold off an invasion of Scorn forces. There's also a new activity called the Blind Well, a vast area where up to 6 players can take on waves of enemies that eventually culminates in a boss fight. It's basically Escalation Protocol with some unique gameplay mechanics. The entire area is shrouded in poison gas. There's only a few clean pockets of air that you can fight in. As you progress, you'll be given a little more freedom to move around. This restricted movement makes for some intense boss fights. Next up, the new Collections tab. Now your Collections tab tracks everything you earn in game and even details how you can get your hands on the items you're still missing, although some items will remain a mystery until you learn how to earn them yourself. After all, Bungie doesn't want to spoil the game's secret loot. Now the Collections tab will also allow dismantled items to be repurchased with Glimmer. Items like ships, sparrows, ghost shells, shaders, emblems, emotes, exotic armor and weapons, and all Year 1 legendary gear. But what about Year 2 legendary gear? Well, Forsaken will introduce brand new legendary weapons and armor with random rolls, just like we had in Destiny 1. So yeah, the search for that perfect god roll will make a welcome return. However, because this new Year 2 gear drops randomly, you won't be able to repurchase it from your Collections tab once dismantled. You'll need to store all the Year 2 legendary gear you want to keep in your vault. And by the way, vault space has been increased from 300 to 500 slots to make this a little less painful. Now Year 1 legendary weapons and armor will continue to have static rolls even after Forsaken drops. Having said that, you will be able to infuse all your Year 1 gear up to the new 600 power cap, so no Year 1 weapons are getting left behind. Hurrah! So then when the Forsaken drops, your collection will include every item from your inventory and vault that you had when Warmind launched May 8th. Now if you dismantled an item before May 8th, it will not be in your collection, but you can pick up those items again through playing the relevant in-game activities, so you know, no big deal. Now Bungie's still working out how much Glimmer it will cost to repurchase dismantled items, but they promised it won't leave you bankrupt. And here's good news for those of you who like to constantly mix up your shaders. It will no longer cost you Glimmer to apply a shader, and yes, you will be able to mass delete shaders when Forsaken drops. Now let's say you decide to repurchase a weapon or armor piece from your collection. What power level will it drop at? Well, here's what Bungie had to say about this. Collection items will come out close to your current power level, but will require infusion to be ready for endgame activities. This is a delicate balance of making sure collections don't create a leveling exploit, but still provide items that are usable right away in most activities, so yeah, fair enough. Next up, the new Triumphs tab. Now every Triumph you unlock in Destiny increases your overall Triumph score, and there are Triumphs for absolutely every category in game, everything from PvP to the game's lore. Now according to Game Informer, there are even tasks that can only be completed during certain time periods. Now for all you lore enthusiasts, there are new lore fragments to collect from both old and new locations. Hidden chests scattered throughout the solar system contain lore fragments that reveal Cade's sordid history. You'll discover sacred awoken texts in the Dreaming City, and you'll also learn what Varix has been up to since you last saw him. Now whatever activities you want to take part in, Gambit, PvP, Vanguard, lore hunting, there's a Triumph for you to complete. Increasing your Triumph score will unlock emblems and something brand new, something called titles. Now if you specialize in a specific category, for example Crucible, you'll earn titles that you can display next to your name that prove you're a badass in that particular field. Next up, the brand new mod system, which thank God is being overhauled in Forsaken. Mods will no longer grant +5 power like you see here. Instead, they will allow players to further customize their gear to a preferred playstyle, for example, increased hipfire, better airborne accuracy, or extra damage to vehicles. And yes, you'll be able to recover mods from dismantled legendary gear, so you never again have to waste them. Lovely stuff, Bungie. Now other incoming additions in Forsaken include the return of daily heroic missions and the ability to select individual strikes. There will also be new weekly milestones, and get this, Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit and Flashpoints now refresh every 4 days. Next up, a brand new 4vs4 competitive Crucible mode called Breakthrough. Now just so you know, the gameplay you see here is random PvP stuff, not breakthrough gameplay. So then 3 of the 4 new Crucible maps coming to Forsaken were designed with this new game mode in mind. Here are the rules. At the start of each round, both teams attempt to control something called the Breaker. Now this allows you to hack the enemy vault. Once you capture the Breaker, it can't be recaptured by the opposing team, and so the opposing team will now have to defend their hacked vault. You need to capture the vault before the time runs out, or the opposing team wins the point. According to Game Informer, this mode is fast and intense. Next up, a brand new exotic auto rifle called Cerberus +1. Now this crazy new exotic is inspired by the Contra spread gun, which automatically makes this weapon effing cool. I used to love playing Contra on my NES, and the spread gun was awesome. As you can see, it fires multiple projectiles at once that cover a wide spread, hence the name Spread Gun. Now this new exotic works in kind of the same way. As you can see, it has 4 different barrels all strapped together, and each one shoots in a slightly different direction. Now as you can see from this brief gameplay clip, this causes the damage damage to spread out in quite a wide area, and in doing so, it inflicts a hell of a lot of damage. So yeah, firing in 4 directions at once, that's the kind of thing I want to see from a brand new exotic. I can't wait to test out this crazy new auto rifle. Now guys, from here on in, there's going to be a ton of new Forsaken content to cover, so it's back to regular content for this channel. Now if you like these longer kind of videos, let me know by dropping a cheeky thumbs up. It helps the video reach more people, and it lets me know that you like this kind of content. Now if you want to watch yet another detailed Forsaken video, this one is a whopping 20 minutes of non-stop info. Click this image. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for heaps more Destiny content, and thank you so much for watching, and as always, a tee hee hee. Until next time, Guardians.